And we know about the Great War from the hadith of Sahih Bukhari that the river Euphrates will uncover a mountain of gold. The river Euphrates will uncover a mountain of gold. And people will fight for the gold. And each will say, and 99 out of every 100 who fight for the gold will be killed. And each will say, I will be the one who will survive. But the believers must not touch that gold. Because of my background of international politics and economics and monetary economics, I was able to offer many years ago an interpretation of this hadith. It was the first time it was ever interpreted this way. But all these years have passed and no one has challenged me really. No one has succeeded in challenging me. And I'm wrong, no. First of all, there's never been a war in history in which 99% of all combatants have been killed. Never. And so this war has not as yet taken place. Number two, conventional war cannot kill 99% of all combatants. It has to be a war using weapons of mass destruction. Hence nuclear war. And so we say that this is the malhama. And thirdly, once you have a war which kills 99% of all combatants, the war which comes after that will be fought with horses. With horses. So this is a one-time event in history. So we say this is the malhama, or what the Christian and Jewish eschatology refers to as Armageddon. And the Armageddon, or the Great War, will be fought for the mountain of gold. The Salafi insists that a mountain of gold is going to come out from underneath the river. That's Salafi thinking. So let him continue to think that way, and let us move on. We say no, this is mutashabiha. This has to be interpreted. And we say the mountain of gold has already come out from underneath the river. Oh yes. And it is an ocean of oil underneath the river which has to function as a mountain of gold. And that took place when the PetroDollar was born. The PetroDollar was born. PetroDollar is a beautifully constructed term. PetroDollar. The US dollar collapsed, essentially. It lost its foundations in 1971 when France had attacked it consistently under Charles de Gaulle, who considered and who recognized the monetary system which came out of Bretton Woods and the IMF to be unjust. Yeah. De Gaulle recognized it as unjust. Ahmad Sukarno understood it that he was unjust. Muhammad Mahathir understood it to be unjust. Where are the others? Are they eating biryani and going home and sleep? And so when France attacked it, France demanded that their US dollars be redeemed for gold. And the Americans realized, if this continues, we're in trouble. Because we printed more paper dollars than we had gold. And international law required the U.S. to redeem dollars of gold at $35 an ounce. $35 an ounce. They used the Vietnam War as a cover to print and print and print and to fool the rest of the world except Charles de Gaulle. The muftis of Islam were nowhere around. I don't know where they were sleeping. But it took a French general to recognize what was going on. And he stood up in the French National Assembly and he denounced the monetary system. And then they got rid of him. They got rid of him. But in August 1971, when the French government insisted on redeeming dollars for gold, then Nixon said enough is enough. And we're going to renege on our obligations under international law to redeem dollars for gold. So now the US dollar has no legs on which to stand. It's in no man's land. It could collapse. But de Gaulle is no longer the president. And the world of Islam, of course, is asleep. It's still asleep up to now. Up to now, still asleep. In 1973, the war took place, and then the oil boycott of the United States was imposed. You were not born as yet. And the price of oil rose by 400%, from $3 a barrel to $12. Kissinger waited for the Arabs to celebrate. Money is pouring in. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in Pakistan had the political acumen to recognize an opportunity. Yeah? He had the wisdom and the insight, the one Pakistani leader. And the Lahore Islamic Summit was called in February 1974. Let's put all this oil revenue to work for the Ummah. And Faisal is a happy man. So Kissinger bided his time until he went to Faisal in Riyadh and he says, let's make a deal. And Faisal, may Allah have mercy on his soul, rahimahullah, he had a good heart, but he only had peanuts in his head. Too bad. And didn't recognize that this is a haram transaction. Haram. Kissinger said, all you have to do is to agree that you sell your Saudi oil for only US dollars. You cannot buy oil except with US dollars. That's unfair. That gives the United States an unfair advantage. That saves the US dollar from collapse. Yes, it's also haram. The market must be a free market and a fair market. But Faisal had only peanuts in his head, like most politicians today. And as a consequence, Faisal accepted it. And he got the other Arab oil producing countries to accept it. And then OPEC came on board, and the PetroDollar was born. And an ocean of oil underneath the river began to function as a mountain of gold. And the prophecy was fulfilled. But they're going to fight for that mountain of gold. And that's where we are today. In the timeline of events, that's where we are today. That war for the mountain of gold will be the Malhama.